Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. On today's video, we're doing another What's New in Witchcraft episode where we're talking about the book releases, the deck releases, and the astrological events that are happening in July 2024. Last month, so many of you seemed to really enjoy my episode, and so I decided to make it a regular thing on my channel. Now, I'll be honest, July is busy. There are a lot of book releases, there are a lot of astrological events, and I'm going to try and cover them as quickly as possible so that this is going to be a really short update. But I'll be honest, it's me, I talk for England, it's probably not going to be that short, but we're going to give it a go, and we're going to start with astrological events. So this month we have the new moon occurring on the 5th of July. Now this is the new moon in Cancer, so it might be quite an emotional time for everyone. It's a case of looking inwards at our own emotional requirements and desires, the emotional baggage that we might be carrying around with us, and seeing if there's anything we can do to help clear that out so that we can bring in the new as we head towards the full moon. Now this one might be quite intense, especially for the Cancerians out there like myself. We're already in Cancer season, and that's going to be running till the 22nd of July. So we're already in our feels if you have heavy Cancer placements, especially if you are a Cancer sun, and then the new moon is really going to amplify that. So be prepared to be in your feels. It's definitely a time for internal contemplation and kind of sorting things into little boxes, making sure that we're clearing out the things that we no longer need. That then allows us to head towards the second Capricorn full moon. This is occurring on the 21st of July. Now this is the second Capricorn moon we've had this year, and this one I believe is going to be a little bit less intense than the first. So that's definitely positive if you were struggling with the previous one. But this time we're talking about the book moon, the thunder moon, or the hay moon. It has multiple different names depending on where you are. For me, I mostly connect this with the thunder moon because we do have a lot of thunderstorms in July. How you carry out your workings for this full moon is really going to depend on what aspects of it you feel drawn to. To start off with, I'm going to talk about the collective. So this is the fact that it's a Capricorn moon and it's also the book, thunder, or hay moon. Those two things combined means it's a good time to be looking into future prospects with finance. Things that are very rooted and grounded in the mundane world. Essentially the things that we need to function in our day-to-day modern society. So we're talking finances, whether this is looking towards getting a promotion, a new job, something shifting with your work. Perhaps it is a different side project that you want to be adding in, a new direction that you want to take with your job and your finances. It could also be looking into savings and the different ways that you can better that. It may also be a good time to be looking into housing. Have you been looking to find a new place? Now could be a good time to look into that. Shifting around your home environment to make it as useful to you as possible. Are there things that you need to declutter? Are there things that you can improve on? New projects that you might want to start in and around the home? Now could be a good time to do that. For those of you who are not following the astrology quite so much, it can be a good time to take advantage of the weather, the season, and just the energy of the time, and to be progressing things in regard to travel and taking new steps, trying new things, go to a class that you've been thinking of attending but haven't been to yet, start a new hobby, take a trip somewhere that you really want to go. Depending on how you perceive each of these astrological events, it's going to change the kind of things that you do. So this is not gospel, this is not something you need to follow to a T. It is something where you can take what resonates, leave everything else, do your own research, follow your own experiences, and make your own magical practice out of it. With the sun being in Cancer right now, we might be experiencing a lot of heightened emotion. So if you are like me, an absolute crybaby, I cry at absolutely everything, I'm terrible for it, you might be experiencing those heightened emotions a lot more now than you have done before. Especially, as mentioned earlier, if you have a lot of Cancer placements in your natal chart. If you don't though, you might simply be experiencing a desire for more coziness and comfort, a little bit of that hermit experience, where you're maybe looking inwards, you're wanting to settle down, you're wanting to deepen your connections and relationships. That might be something that we're experiencing. If you are struggling with that energy, it is going to slowly come to an end by July 22nd, where we are moving into Leo season, which may be a time for you to shine if you do have a few more fire placements, if you do have more Leo in your chart. That might be something to look forward to if you are struggling with this highly emotional energy. I'll be honest, while I am an absolute crybaby, I do quite enjoy Cancer season. I like the fact that everyone else is in their feels too. It makes me feel a little bit better about being in mine. Now, besides the sun and the moon, there are a lot of astrological changes that are coming. Now, not all of these are going to be significant to everyone, so I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, but I understand that not everyone is interested in this, and so it could be a little bit tedious if you're not. So let's go through it as we work through a calendar. On the 1st of July, there's a conjunction between Moon and Mars. On the 2nd of July, Neptune is going to fall into retrograde. Now, I am going to talk about this in just a second because I do think this could be more significant for a lot of you. On the 3rd of July, there is a conjunction between the Moon and Jupiter. On the 7th, there is a conjunction between the Moon and Mercury. On the 15th, it is a conjunction between Mars and Uranus. On the 24th, there's a conjunction between the Moon and Saturn. On the 30th, we have a few different things happening. So we have a couple of meteor showers happening that day, which could be significant to anyone who is going to experience that energy. And also, there's going to be a conjunction between the Moon and Mars. And then the following day, on the 31st, we have a conjunction between Moon and Jupiter. And so all of this, depending on how closely you follow your astrological events, may have an impact on the kinds of workings that you are carrying out. Now, I will say here that you do not have to work with astrology to be a successful magical practitioner, but for anyone who is interested in astrology, these things might be significant to remember and perhaps to look into further if that is something that you think might be significant. Now, the one thing that I do think could be quite significant for a lot of people is happening on the 2nd of July, and this is the retrograde of Neptune. Now, Neptune takes a long time when it retrogrades. This is not a quick process. It is going to come into retrograde on the 2nd of July. It's not leaving the retrograde until the 7th of December. So bear that in mind. Neptune has a very subtle influence on our lives. This isn't like the Mercury retrograde where it's going to be a really intense energy. Instead, it's going to be a lot more subtle. Now, this time around, it seems as though the retrograde is going to remove any rose-tinted glasses that you might have. Is there anything in your life that you're sugarcoating without even realizing it? This retrograde might be a time where those ideals that you have kind of fall away and you're going to start seeing things for what they are. And that might sound really scary, but it's a good time to be figuring out what we really want, whether what we're experiencing is what we're actually after. It's a time to be realistic, but hopefully it's not going to be overly harsh and brutal. Instead, it's just a case of realizing that we need to take the rose-tinted glasses off sometimes to really see what we've got in front of us. This might be that you're romanticizing a past relationship that has been and gone and you're holding on to it when you should have let it go. It might be that you're romanticizing your job in case it might get better, but in reality, you really don't like where you are and you want to progress onto doing something else. This is the time where that's really going to be revealed and shown to us. So that is a lot of astrological events happening. It's a lot more than I spoke about in last month's video. So let me know if you enjoy having more content about the astrology, or would you rather me just stick to the book releases? Do let me know. Now, this time last month, I was talking about the Sabbats, and we were talking about Letha coming up. But this time, there are no Sabbats in July. There are no Wheel of the Year celebrations. And so it's a case of taking a little bit of time, getting out into nature if you can, trying to experience some of the world around us while it is quite sunny and warm for anyone in the Northern Hemisphere. And it could just be a time to take a little bit of a pause and a little bit of respite, because June did have a lot of heightened energy. You had the summer solstice and you had the full moon right next to one another. That was a lot going on for a lot of people. So now is the time to really take that pause and maybe even read a book or two. And that really leads us on to the next section in this video, where we're talking about all of the book releases. Now, I've got them next to me because there are a lot. It was brought to my attention last time that the launches in the UK and in America are on different dates. So this time we have a section for the UK and we have a section for America. Unfortunately, I couldn't go further beyond that point because this video would end up being absolutely massive, but I'm hoping that if you recognize a title that you like the sound of, that then you're able to do a little bit of research to see when it releases where you are, because different locations have different release dates. So we're going to start with the UK because I'm selfish and I live in the UK, and so I want to start there. And then I will say, just before we dive into this, I'm not affiliated with any of the authors, any of the publishers. I've not read any of these books. These are simply the releases that are happening in the coming month, and there are likely far more that I've missed. Honestly, July had a lot more releases than I was expecting. Up first, on July 1st, we have the Aleister Crowley collection by Mystic Archives. Now, this is a hardback edition, and it is a collection of Aleister Crowley's works. So a little bit of information on this. It says, this beautiful hardback anthology brings together the seminal works of renowned occultist Aleister Crowley, presented with a striking gold-embossed cover design and gilded page edges. And it is a collection bringing together his poetry, fiction, and spiritual philosophy through three of his most iconic works, Clouds Without Water, Moonchild, and The Book of the Law. Taken together, these works offer a window into Crowley's greatest literary achievements. Now, I know that Aleister Crowley is a very divisive figure, so take of that what you will, but this book is the first to release on the 1st of July. On July 8th, we have a book that I actually think looks really, really interesting. This is Divine Dirt by Charity L. Bedell, and it's the art of using dirt in magic, ritual, and spellcraft. Now, the information on this one says, turn ordinary soil into magic with more than 150 spells and exercises designed to work with the energy of various environments, from riverbanks and fields to gardens and graveyards. And so that sounds pretty good to me. I'm really interested in seeing how other people will work with these kinds of things. And so if you are like me, you might also find this one really interesting. And also the cover design on this is really beautiful, so props to them. Like the red with the gold, it's really nice. Also on the 8th of July, we have Capricorn Witch, Unlock the Magic of Your Sun Sign by Ivo Dominguez Jr. and Maria Wanda. I apologize if I get anyone's name wrong, by the way. I'm terrible at pronunciation. Now this is part of the Witch's Sun Sign series. It's book 10 of 12, and we actually have another one in this series coming out in America a lot earlier than it will in the UK, so you'll see the differences between the UK and America. But this one says, climb to the highest peaks of your magical practice with this book on maxing the power of your Capricorn sun sign. Sharing numerous spells, exercises, recipes, and stories, Ivo Dominguez Jr. and Maria Wanda show you how to use your ambitious nature to enrich your everyday life and be more successful in your witchcraft. Capricorn Witch offers correspondences, cleansing and shielding methods, self-care routine, moon and rising sign traits, and divination techniques that help you reach every goal you set, magical or otherwise. So these look really interesting. I did see one of these when I was in Glastonbury and I kind of skipped straight past it. I didn't realise that it was part of a much bigger series. Now, not everyone is going to be interested in all of these books, but if you are a Capricorn and you do want to work more with it, this could be something to look into. But do remember that they haven't released all of the series yet, so if you are one of the signs that is currently unreleased, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Also on July 8th, we have Llewellyn's Little Book of Spellcraft by Deborah Blake. Now this is number 17 in the collection. There are a lot of books that came before this one, and I will be honest with you, I'm going to be skipping this one. For me, I think that there will be better books on the subject, but if you really enjoy Deborah Blake's writing, and if you really enjoy the other books in this series, this could be a good option. It's just, for me, I think I'm going to give this one a skip. It is, however, about the following. Master the art of magic with this concise yet comprehensive guide to creating and casting spells of every kind. Expert enchantress Deborah Blake explores each aspect of spellcrafting from beginning to end, providing you all the information you need to get started making your own magic. So that book is coming out in both Kindle edition and hardcover edition, and I'll be honest, I'll be interested to see what people say about it. There's lots of big claims going on there to say that this book will teach you everything that you need to know in just 224 pages. So if you've read this book, if it's already out where you are, or if you're going to read this book, do come back to me and let me know what you think. I would love to know. If it's good, I'll get it and I'll add it into my collection and I'll talk about it more. But I have such a massive to be read pile that I'm being very careful with the books that I get. Next up, we have a little bit of a confusing one because the different versions of this book are coming out on different days. So the Kindle edition and the audiobook edition are coming out on the 8th of July. The paperback is not coming out until the 8th of August, and that is Unquiet Voices, The Magical Art of Laying Ghosts. Now this one, as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought that this looked pretty interesting. It's different than a lot of the books that we are seeing being released at the moment. This one describes itself as such. Navigate the realms of the unseen with this practical resource for magicians, pagans, and spiritual workers of all kinds. Drawing on 30 years of research and experience, authors Bob and Nonie Douglas combine classical necromancy and modern investigative methods to help you confidently identify spirits of the dead, know when they are present, and diagnose their effects. Unquiet Voices presents paranormal investigation from the perspective of medieval magic. Explore the historical legacy of necromancy, learn about diverse types of spirits, and avoid common errors and misconceptions. You'll also find a detailed field guide packed with reference tables and step-by-step techniques to help bridge the gap between knowledge and action. And doesn't that sound incredible? This is exactly the kind of book I've been looking for ages. I have my own experience identifying different kinds of hauntings and ghosts, but I'd love to see it from someone else's perspective, especially with the inclusion of medieval magic. Like, this looks so good. This one is definitely on my to be read pile. I am definitely going to be ending up with this because it just sounds so amazing. And then on the 9th of July, we have another confusing one, and I think it's probably down to the fact that the Kindle and the audiobook versions are worldwide, and yet the paperbacks are regional. So this is Ancestral Slavic Magic, Transcend Family Patterns and Empower Ancestral Connections by Natasha Helvin. Now in the UK, the Kindle and the audiobook edition are coming out on the 9th of July. The paperback edition is not being released until the 15th of August. So just bear that in mind. If you do want the paperback, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, and I'll mention it again in next month's video. But in regard to the information, it does sound pretty interesting if this is the kind of topic you want to learn more about. It's a guide to harnessing ancestral power in the Slavic pagan tradition. Raised in the Soviet Union, where she grew up steeped in ancient Slavic magical traditions, occultist and hereditary witch, Natasha Helvin reveals not only how you are continually and powerfully influenced by your ancestors, but also how you can open the door to your ancestral connections in order to know who you truly are and change the course of your destiny. Now, I personally am going to skip this one simply because it's not a branch of magic that I am particularly invested in myself, but for any of you who are, this one could be a really useful guide and a lot of insight into traditions that are often not heavily spoken about. So do bear that in mind if this is something you're interested in. There are 2 different release dates. You have the 9th of July for the audiobook and the Kindle edition, and the 15th of August for the paperback. And a little bit simpler, coming out on the 9th of July, we have Land of the Goat, Witchcraft in the Pyrenees. Now this is another one where it's not going to appeal to everyone, but I think some of you are definitely going to be interested in this. So this one is described as such. The Pyrenees Mountains of Spain are a locus unique, characterized by a rugged landscape, extremes in climate, and isolated villages. A stronghold of independence, the area has long sheltered a rich tapestry of folk customs and magical belief, and served as a refuge for heretical sects of the Middle Ages. It was here, in 1424, that the first secular laws against witchcraft were passed. It was also the birthplace of the unique figure of the Bruxa, or primordial witch, a supernatural figure which could communicate with spirits, cast spells, control weather, and serve as the devil's consort. Drawing upon Inquisition records as well as local history, folklore, and magical practices, The Land of the Goat explores the nature of the Pyrenean witch and the evolution of its character and craft over time. Its subjects include the spirit double, beneficium, and the witch's nocturnal flight. And honestly, that just sounds incredible. It's not a topic that I would normally really dive into, but because it is from a historical stance, I might look into this one. Released on July 11th, we have Mercury Magic, How to Thrive During Retrogrades and Tap into the Power of the Messenger Planet All Year Long by Maressa Brown. Now this one is for anyone who wants to learn a little bit more about the Mercury retrograde and how we can use its power, and the information on it goes as follows. Whether you're into astrology or not, you've likely heard the phrase, blame it on Mercury retrograde. This book is a friendly, detailed guide to not only surviving but thriving during Mercury retrograde and harnessing the astrological power of the planet not just during these cycles but all year long. You'll discover astrological must-knows about the Mercury retrograde and how it works, plus how you can take advantage of these periods at work and in wellness and relationships. So this one might not be for the very determined astrologer, this might not be for someone who's looked more into it, but if you are just getting started or perhaps know someone who might be interested, this could be a cute book to get. On July 16th, we have a release by Temperance Alden. We have Year of the Witch, Seasonal Intuitive Magic, and this is a 2025 weekly planner. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It is a weekly planner about planning a seasonal intuitive practice. A little bit of a time jump here. The next book release is on the 23rd of July, and it is Utopian Witch, Solarpunk Magic to Fight Climate Change and Save the World. This is by Justine Norton-Kertson. And this one is an interesting book. I had not heard anything about it up until this point, so I'd love to learn a little bit more about the author and the other books that they've written, because I think that could be really interesting. But this one is described as being longtime activist and practicing witch Justine Norton-Kertson introduces a fresh approach to witchcraft at a time when it's desperately needed. Drawing on the natural connections between modern paganism and the literary, artistic, and activist movement known as solarpunk, Norton-Kertson provides meditations and correspondences for developing a spiritual practice rooted in nature, the sun, and a powerful belief in our ability to build a better world. So this one seems really interesting. I haven't heard of the publishers up until this point either, so I'm definitely going to check them out and see what other things that they've got as well. One that I am really interested in, though, like really interested in, is coming out on the 25th of July, and that is Awakening the Witch Blood, Embodying the Art Magical by Nathan King. Now, this one is by Crossed Crow. I already love their works, so I know that I'm probably going to love this one too. And it's described as drawing on the myriad of beliefs from European witch traditions. Nathan King has created an impressive guidebook combining mythology and folklore with operative rituals designed to enliven and quicken the metaphorical witch blood that courses through our veins. Witches are not just users of magic, we are a physical embodiment, reflection, and power of the source. Coursing through our veins is a potent magical elixir called the witch blood, our personal source of power that creates the spark, igniting our spells and rituals. And yeah, this one looks really good to me. I'm looking forward to checking this one out. It seems really interesting, and I'll be honest, I've known that this one's been coming out for a while and I have been keeping an eye on it since I heard about it, and so I'll probably end up getting it. Let's face it, I'm a sucker for a book like this. And then the last release that I have found for this month is coming out on the 26th of July, and it is from our very own The Oak Witch, which is just so exciting. This is by Pagan Portals. It is Spellcraft and Spellwork, a guide to the magical practice of spells, and the information goes as follows. Spells are something that almost every magical practitioner utilizes. Often when stepping into the world of magic and spellcasting for the first time, it can be difficult to understand how to navigate crafting your first spell and what steps to take towards building your own personal practice. Spellcraft and Spellwork is a practical guide on the inner and outer workings of spellcasting. This book brings the reader back to the basics and introduces everything you need to know about crafting and working spells. The way in which each magic user will craft their spells will vary greatly. Ariana provides explanations of the foundations of spellcasting in a way which highlights the practitioner's own personal experience and helps them to build a craft which is truly unique to them. Which just sounds so good, doesn't it? That's like so exciting. It's like seeing someone that you know write a book. It's so cool. So yeah, that is the last release for the UK. We're now going to move on to the USA. Now, I know that this has already been quite long. Any duplicates, I'm not going to cover what the book is about because I'll have already mentioned it in this video already. Up first, on the 8th of July, we have Unquiet Voices, The Magical Art of Laying Ghosts. Now, while in the UK, this is a little bit delayed on the release of the paperback, in the US, the Kindle, audiobook, and paperback editions are all being released on the same date of the 8th of July. So if that is something you're interested in, and you're in America, you can get the paperback sooner than you can if you're in the UK. On the 8th of July, you can also get Fortune in Your Hands, A Witch's Guide to Playing Card Divination and Magic. Now this one is by Alaric Albertsson, and it reads as follows. See and influence the future with an ordinary deck of playing cards. With a history as long and prestigious as any tarot, a playing card deck can reveal profound divinatory insights. Alaric Albertsson shows you how to use numerology and elemental associations to transform this household item into a potent tool for unveiling your future. So if cartomancy is something you are interested in and you want to learn how to use a standard playing card deck, this one could be good. It is coming out in the UK, but not until August. Also on the 8th of July, we have Aquarius Witch, Unlock the Magic of Your Sun Sign by Ivo Dominguez Jr. and Mickie Mueller. Now this is the 11th in the series, so in America you are working one book ahead of what we are in the UK, and this is part of that Sun Sign series that we spoke about earlier. This one is described as being witchcraft to celebrate your innovative and independent self. Enhance your magical practice and personal development with the power of your Aquarius sun sign. Strengths and challenges your sign brings to both witchcraft and everyday life, recipes, exercises, stories, rituals, and spells from the authors, and a host of Aquarius contributors. This book teaches you how to best connect with your sign's energy, manage your power, cleanse and shield yourself, tailor-fit magical workings to your sign, and more. So if you are an Aquarius, this one could be good for you. On the 8th of July, we also have Llewellyn's 2025 Witch's Companion. We also have Llewellyn's Little Book of Spellcraft by Deborah Blake, as well as Llewellyn's 2025 Witch's Spell-a-Day Almanac. Now, the almanacs are coming out every single year. They're generally the same format, just with different information based off astrological events, seasonal cycles, and the like. On the 9th of July, we have Land of the Goat, Witchcraft in the Pyrenees. And then we also have Year of the Witch 2025 Weekly Planner Calendar by Temperance, Alden. And finally, on the 26th of July, the same as it is in England, we have the release of the Oak Witch's book, Spellcraft and Spellwork, A Guide to the Magical Practice of Spells. So this was a lot. I wanted to include a little bit more information than I did last time, but it might be a little bit too much. So let me know what you would prefer. Would you rather have really, really quick information? Would you rather have something that's a little bit more in-depth? Do let me know. If you have any other books that are releasing this coming month, do let us know down in the comment section, and also let me know which book you are most excited for. There's a few in this list that I really like the sound of. I love the sound of Spellcraft and Spellwork, but the one that I definitely am going to end up getting is Unquiet Voices. That one just seems so fascinating to me. So I hope that you did enjoy this video. I hope that it was useful. Let me know what you're doing in July as well. Are you working with any astrological events? Is there anything up and coming for you? Do let me know. If you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a like. It really means a lot to me. If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, or just want to chit chat with the community, feel free to post it in the comments section. And if you do enjoy the magical content on this channel or in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I try to post magical content every single week. So with that being said, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you have a marvelous magical day and an amazing July, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!